Hi, I'm Ken Daly. I'm the Chief Executive of JML, and I'm here today at the Retail Week Live conference at the O2 Intercontinental Hotel. Well, the Retail Week Live conference is the biggest conference in the UK for retail. All the major players are here. There's some high-profile chief executives of the biggest retailers speaking, and it's a great event for networking and finding out what's going on in the industry generally. Well, today I was talking about BHS and its demise and what lessons can be learnt from that business failure and how brands can adapt and remain relevant in such a rapidly changing environment. Hello. Hi. Afternoon. I'm Ken Daly. Thank you very much for that introduction. I've been asked to speak to you actually specifically on the subject of BHS, a high-profile failure, and what lessons can be learnt from the retailer's demise. But retail is an evolutionary thing, and I think it's only natural that some retailers should fail where others spring up and thrive. So why did BHS fail? The research that I've done since being asked to speak today really shows that there are just two key issues, really. The first one, structural issues and a lack of investment, and it's well documented that over £800 million was taken out of BHS in recent years through dividends, through rental payments and through management fees. I think it's the second one that's perhaps more interesting and more pertinent, and that is quite simply that BHS just lost any relevance as a brand. And how does a brand gain or retain relevance? And two key ways are solving a problem and earning inclusion in the consumer's everyday lives. Now, I hope you'll indulge me here for a moment and just talk about JML, the company that I lead, and a piece of rebranding that we did a few years ago. This is actually our old logo, and we used to call ourselves the home of great ideas. But we felt that this logo was a strapline, should I say, was almost a little bit self-congratulatory. And so a couple of years ago, we rebranded and we had a new strapline, which is Everyday Easier. And we felt that Everyday Easier told you more about our consumer proposition. We're here to make your lives easier, or the consumer's lives easier. So for me, in order for a brand to remain relevant in this environment, they need to have three qualities, which are agility, accessibility, and I must apologize, I wanted to have a third A to keep the alliteration going, but the last one is empathy. The agility is the ability to adapt to the ever-changing world which the consumer lives in. And again, I look back at my own business. We've been around for 30 years. There's been a few bumps in the road, but I'm pleased to say we had a record year last year, and so the business is very, very strong. But actually, our business, the business model itself, hasn't really changed a great deal. If you look at the business at any point in time, we're selling about 200 products. But out of those 200 products, which is quite a small number of SKUs really, at any one time, 80% of those products didn't exist 2 years previously. So the business is constantly changing and adapting and developing products that the consumer demands. And that's the way that we stay relevant. This, believe it or not, is Apple's logo when Steve Jobs founded the business in the 70s. But he obviously, the business, as well as being incredibly innovative, moving from desktop computers into music and phones, they also appreciated the need to change their branding. I don't know if anyone read in Retail Week the results from Hotel Chocolat, but they've just reported a stellar set of results. And their very charismatic founder and CEO, Angus Thirlwell, I really love this quote that he made, and that's, if our customers ever told us that we needed to rebrand, it would be game over. The next of the three qualities that I think a brand needs in order to stay relevant is accessibility. Knowing how and where your customer operates and making sure that you are there when needed. And at this point, I'd like to talk about omni-channel. I was actually at an omni-channel conference a couple of weeks ago, and one of the speakers there presented this startling statistic. 40% of customers will abandon your website if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. And to put accessibility into context, I wanted to share these statistics with you. And these show the sheer weight of global demand for information about products and brands and companies. 60,000 Google searches per second globally. 16,000 Instagrams, 8,500 Facebooks, and so on. And finally, of my three qualities is empathy. A sensitivity to the worldview of your customers and an acceptance that brands must be receptive. A good example here is McDonald's. Founded by Ray Kroc in the 1950s, they became the world's biggest fast food chain. But then concerns about the lack of nutritional content and the perhaps lack of healthiness of the menu caused the earnings per share to fall considerably. Now they've gone through a major rebrand where they have salads, they've got a much more pleasant restaurant environment, and they're beginning to see their performance improve once more. Now, to put this into context in the UK, I've just read that February retail sales were down and footfall in stores were down. But if we look at 2016, broadly speaking, retail sales grew, even if you're looking at the bricks and mortar side of things. Brexit vote, there you can see there, didn't have a massive impact. In fact, sales grew further. The UK is an absolutely enormous retail market. Online, the picture, pure online, is even rosier because actually in the UK, we spend more per head online than anywhere else in the world, even comparing ourselves with America. I feel very optimistic because, yes, it was sad to see BHS go to the wall, but they just couldn't keep their brand relevant. They didn't invest in their brand and they didn't remain relevant, and so they were punished by the consumer. But those stores, they'll be picked up by other retailers or at the very worst will be used for something else. And the market share will be picked up by other retailers or, again, possibly by other industries. Meanwhile, the incredible advances that we've had in technology enables all sorts of people to get their products in front of consumers. So my kind of proposition is this, that if you are in the business of selling stuff, really, there has never been a better time and the opportunities are absolutely enormous. Thank you very much.